Good day, you too. Today I'm going to talk about my job in the Air Force, which the career field is personnel. I did do personnel for 2 years enlisted. I retrained. My first job in the Air Force was I was a firefighter, and then I retrained into personnel. I chose personnel because it's something that I wanted to do. I like HR, human resources, so it worked for me. On top of that, I like dealing with people, and it gave me the opportunity to work a regular day. Let's say 7:30 to 4:30 for the most part, and have weekends off when I did personnel. Then I commissioned, and when I became an officer, the Air Force said, you're going to be personnel again, which was good because, like I said, I like personnel. So what are some of the jobs that you can do if you get personnel? I have a list here. Some of them are separations. If somebody's leaving the Air Force, you can meet with that individual, work on their orders, tell them what they have to do, give them their checklist. So that's separations. Another thing is retirements. If somebody's retiring from the Air Force, you're going to guide them as well, provide them their information that they need, give them a checklist if that's applicable. Sometimes it's paper copy. Nowadays, usually it's online. So the service member knows what they have to do. Promotions, that affects everyone, enlisted and officers. So when somebody gets promoted, if that's your job, promotions, you're going to guide them and help them out as well. I worked readiness. So my first 2 years when I was enlisted in personnel, I worked readiness, and my job was to deploy people. I would do their orders, tell them what they needed to do, give them a checklist. Like checklists are everywhere in the Air Force. So that's what I did. It was a great job. In fact, I was lucky enough that they put me into that job, and I liked it a lot. So it's a very fast-paced personnel job, readiness. Evaluations, everybody has performance reports, whether you're having an enlisted performance report or officer performance report, EPR, OPR. So you're going to work with that as well if you work in evaluations. Another thing is commander support staff. So you work directly for the commander, him or her, and you manage his or her programs with staff, commander support staff as well. There are 2 personnel centers. One is AFPC, San Antonio, at Randolph Air Force Base. I was there for the first time last year, and it is a big place with many people. The other one is the Air Reserve Personnel Center in Colorado. I work at ARPC, Air Reserve Personnel Center, and we do programs for total force, active duty, regular active duty, reserve and guard. We have total force employees. We have all active duty, guard and reserve, civilians and contractors as well. Both of the personnel centers have a call center. So if you had a question and you call the Air Force 800 number, it's either going to go to AFPC or ARPC. Those are call centers. So there are many jobs that personnel enlisted can do. Other ones are ROTC detachments. Let's just say UCLA. If they have an ROTC detachment, they have personnel individuals that work there, and that's a cool thing to do as well. Training is big in personnel. So if you're enlisted and officer, you're going to do a lot of training as well, so you can see what other people do as well in personnel. Because one of the things that's good is if you like your job in personnel, let's just say you're doing promotions, great. But if you don't, maybe 2 years later, you can ask your supervisor, I think it's time for me to do another job in personnel, so let me rotate into something else. So that's where training comes in. One of the things that I would do, both enlisted and officer, is PERSCO training. I would train people. I would receive training, and then in the end, I started to doing a lot of the training. PERSCO stands for Personnel Support for Contingency Operations, and that is when we deploy, that is our job. So what is PERSCO responsible for? Accountability. Who's at the deployed base? Who's coming? Who's leaving? Who has to leave early because of an emergency? Things like that. Training is big. Now, for the officer side, so when I commissioned, I was still in personnel. The sections that I talked about, as an officer, you are going to be the chief over those sections. So you're going to have the technical workers, usually the airmen. Then you're going to have some mid-level NCOs, non-commissioned officers, and senior NCOs. They all work for you in that section. They are the experts, the functional experts. One of the things that I didn't like when I became an officer is that I was no longer the expert, because I wasn't. My job was to manage a lot of these people and programs, they're the experts. So that's talking for me. It's important to interact with people. I love to interact with people, find out who the superstars are, and learn from them as well. As an officer, if you get personnel, other areas that you can work on for personnel or manpower, equal opportunity, which I did. I left personnel for 2 years and did equal opportunity. Went to the tech school at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida, and that was great. Sexual assault prevention and response, it's a big topic. Plans and policy, education and training, the list goes on and on. So I'm gonna share with you 3 websites. 2 of them are on Air Force personnel. The first one's for enlisted. The second one is for officer. And the third one talks about getting your associate's degree for the enlisted members in personnel. I received my associate's degree when I was enlisted in personnel administration, but they've changed that now to human resource management. Those 3 links are here at the bottom of this video, so check them out. What else? I like human resources. So you have to ask yourself, do you like dealing with people? Do you like human resources? If the answer is yes, maybe personnel is for you. If the answer is no, maybe personnel is not for you. And on the civilian side, the Air Force has civilian personnel. So what I've seen is a lot of individuals who are veterans or retirees in personnel go to work for civilian personnel. And HR is a big thing in the civilian community as well. So get your training. Personnel is a good thing. And I'm going to end with this. People ask me often, did you ever want to be a pilot? And the answer is no, I had no interest up until 2 years ago. I wish I would have known about pilots in the Air Force because that does seem like a great job, but it's not for everyone. It wasn't for me. I'm okay with that. So this video, I've talked about my job, personnel. I've done it enlisted and officer for 16 years now. I work at ARPC. And think about it. Do research. Do what's best for yourself. Take care.